it's important that everybody knows that anyone can change. There isn't a person on this planet who cannot get clean and sober.
Kalan Kellerhals, thanks for joining me here in the studio, man.
My pleasure, bro. Thank you so much for having us up.
Yeah, we're going to be talking, of course, Green Thumbs about CBD, because I really wanted to educate myself. We were exchanging some messages. So you've been throwing that there, but of course, through that, sharing that how it's helped you through your recovery, and we want to kind of break some of the stigmas, misconceptions, and everything else down right now. But I think a good place to start to let people know what really was, we were joking beforehand, or I think it's funny, my drug of choice, like we had a choice, but what did you fall into that led you to where you are now, obviously through recovery and helping other people? Yeah,
great question. For me, I got into a car accident when I was 22 years old, and rear-ended somebody at about 55 miles an hour, and they were at a dead stop. And so went to the doctor. Doctor prescribed Vicodin, Norco 10. Pretty sure that's what they gave me at that time, and kind of finished the bottle and was like, yo, like my body still needs this, and called the hospital back up to try and get a refill because I was still in pain, and they told me no. And I was like, what? Like, I need more medicine, and they're like, yeah, no, we don't, we're not gonna, this is just a one-time prescription. And I was like, oh wow. But I was still in pain, right? So at that time, I was working in the mall. I was selling women's shoes.
Hey, 2 women's shoe salesmen.
Okay.
I did.
Where did you work at?
God, it wasn't Van Heusen. I'm trying to think of the name of it. This was in the Monterey area, I worked at a women's shoe store.
Yeah. I was in Macy's in Fresno at Fashion Fair Mall, but and at that time I had a buddy there, that he was into pills, and so I told him the situation, and he was like, well, I got this lady for you, bro. She's got him. And so went and met this lady, this older lady in her late 50s, early 60s. And at this time, I mean, this was at the beginning of the opioid epidemic. We're talking early, I guess it was about 2005, 2006-ish. Sure. But they were still, prescribing like candy at that point. And so this lady had multiple doctors, so she was getting multiple scripts, and started out on the Oxy 40s, and then next thing she got a doctor to give her the 80s. And so when I started, I was getting Oxy 80s for $20 a pop. That's what it was.
So you literally, so I'm guessing maybe it's a month-long prescription that you got initially?
Yeah, I mean, probably 30 pills.
Sure.
Which, for me, like, I'm assuming I took them probably faster than a month.
Right.
Maybe that's why they didn't give them back to me. I have no idea, but maybe I called back after a week and took a month's supply. I was like, I need more. And they're like, yeah, no, not this guy.
But that's crazy that dependency was that quick.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. And like we were talking about earlier, I lived a pretty straightforward life. Well, we actually haven't talked about my upbringing and stuff like that, which is very interesting. Yeah. But I didn't do drugs at all in high school. Didn't smoke weed. Didn't do anything.
Me either.
Didn't drink alcohol till I was out of high school, and so lived a pretty clean and sober life for the most part. But at 22, when I found Vicodin, I was like, oh, this is it. This is the one that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And so.
Because we were joking about, or not joking per se, but talking. It seems to me that with opioids, it's one of the only addictions that I'm finding through conversations of people that like, no, I had a pretty normal childhood, no big traumas of any kind, but that people are getting crazy hooked on. That this becomes their addiction. Like I was telling you, a football player that. Good family, supportive family, mom and dad all there, but not until he started to compile injuries, and then that was a solution at the time. It's crazy to me that it was that quick for you.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. And, you know, from there, and the reason it was so quick, right, is because I couldn't get it from the doctor. So I went to work, told my buddy who had the pill lady. And then from there, like, she just made it so accessible that it was like, you know, I went right from a Norco 10 to an Oxy 40 and then to an Oxy 80 within, you know, a 60-day period of time, you know. And at that point, like, I was gone, man. Like, you know, and opiates for me, like, yes, they made me feel great physically, but they also really allowed me to escape the mental pain and the mental guilt and the mental trauma that I was experiencing. You know, when I was on that, I wasn't, you know, I was nodding out, bro. Like, I wasn't, I was warm and fuzzy. I wasn't worried about all the stuff that I had experienced in life. You know, it was a way for me to kind of black out to a certain extent to the pain and anxieties and things that I had inside. And
yeah, it's always a trip. As I remember having a talk with a guy at a meeting one time, and he was, you know, what were you trying to escape? And for me, I felt like, no, I had become so numb. For me, I was numb. It was like booze and whatever was the only way I was feeling anything at that time. Otherwise, I was just always depressed and, you know, numb to everything. But yeah, that still trips me out that progression so quick for you. But let's then talk about what was it that you were trying to numb out, get away from. What was childhood? Because you know, I was like you. I didn't, you know, grew up in a home of addiction and other stuff, but I didn't really start touching things till early 20s, you know, at period. Yeah.
For me, you know, I have great parents, love my parents to death. And we have a great relationship today. So I want to just, you know, start out by saying that.
Sure.
I'm an only child. So my mom had 2 miscarriages, one before me and one after. And so, you know, I ended up being the one and only, you know, and so, which, you know, a lot of love. Yeah, a lot of people are like, lucky you, dude, like, you're so lucky, you know, but me, you know, I didn't necessarily feel that way, you know. And so because I never had brothers and sisters, I've always like really looked to have close friendships. And, you know, people who are my close friends, you know, I call those people brother. Right. Hey, brother, you know, what's going on, brother? How you doing, brother? Because, you know, I feel like, and I've just recently figured this out, subliminally, I want to have that brotherhood, that sisterhood, that connection to family so bad that I don't have that. You know, I've been looking for it in other relationships. But, so yeah, only child. My parents brought me up in church, and that would be a independent fundamental Baptist church. So, you know, we're talking about, you know, a Christian church, but one that is, that particular, culture of Christianity is known for being, you know, what you would call the far right, you know, just way far right. And their views on life and on, you know, what God wants us to do is very narrow-minded, and it's very based on what you do. And so, you know, I was brought up with, you know, having a very stringent set of standards to follow. And, you know, I had to toe the line with, you know, being what the church told my parents that a kid needed to be. Right. And so, you know, they, you know, just have to, you know, you have to do this, you have to do that. You know, I went to Christian school, so private school. I graduated high school with 2 other people. 2. I was the valedictorian. That's always the joke, right? Like, but yeah, very sheltered growing up, you know, and my parents, you know, we went to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, or Thursday night rather. And then I had Christian school, you know, all week long. We had chapel service every day. And then, you know, we would serve, we would do ministry work after hours on the weekends, going out, knocking on people's doors and things like this, right? Trying to evangelize, you know, our faith. And for the record, I still am a Christian and I still have that faith. However, it's not like they told us growing up, and it just isn't that. That's not how a lot of things work. And so it took me a long time of getting out of it and running away from it all to kind of understand. But yeah, my parents had very high expectations of me growing up, and they wanted me to do God's will, and what God's will was. What I was told is that we would all serve God in full-time Christian service, full-time Christian ministry, right? And so, as a 14, 15, 16-year-old youth, I feel in my heart, because that's what all these preachers and all these other people in my life are telling me, that I have to serve God with my whole life, like full-time ministry. I have to be either a pastor or a missionary to another country, or, I have to serve God in that way. And if I'm not willing to do that, then I really don't love God.
Right.
I really don't, I don't feel about him the way that I say.
Starting to feel like a shame, guilt. Yeah.
So like, and my best friend, he was a few years older than me, and he was doing all of that, and so like I was trying to follow in his footsteps, and I was trying to please my parents, right, and do what was quote unquote right for me, and following the authority, big on authority, and following that, what your authority says to do, and there's a certain realm of listening to your authority. I believe that to be good, but allowing your authority to dictate your life and for them to tell you what you're supposed to do with your life, that is not healthy.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I was brought up, man. Like my grandfather was an evangelist, my uncle was a missionary, and so it was kind of like, you are going to be the next
business.
Yeah. This is what you're going to do. This is what God wants you to do.
Yeah.
And I was under that teaching for so long that I really believed that was what God wanted me to do at that time. I didn't know anything else. And so, I was brought up teaching and preaching and, going out and talking to people. And so I knew how to do all that stuff. I knew how to look the part, like I was telling you, I could sing. So they put me in I went to Bible college after high school. And so I actually studied for 2 years to be a pastor. And that's from 18 to 20 years old. And so they sent me out on the tour group is what they called it. And so I sang lead, which is melody, basically. I sang the melody and sang in 35 states representing the college that I went to. And so we would go to these different churches and try to recruit the youth that were in high school there to come to this college. College is called West Coast Baptist College. Okay. So just for anybody listening,
for relevance, maybe
that
somebody else that was there.
Yeah, but yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So this was this was your paradigm. This was the way in which you were to think. So were you struggling with that was it A, this isn't what I want to do, or B, I can't live up to this, or a combination thereof?
Yeah.
I mean, were you just not were you miserable?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was miserable for sure, because I knew that I couldn't, like you said, live up to what they were asking us to do. Nobody can live up to that. Literally nobody, And so, and then also I'm at that age, I wanted to be real.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be what everybody else wanted me to be. I just wanted to be real to who I was. And at that time, I did my freshman year. After my freshman year, I traveled with a little singing group. And then I did my sophomore year. Well, my sophomore summer, I didn't travel. I stayed there and decided to just work my job through the summer that I had down in Lancaster. And I was working at Sam's Club. So there was a couple dudes there, and they loved me. Their names were Ramon and Byron, and they called me Rev K. What's up with it, Rev? What's popping with you, Rev? Hey, you gonna come out with us tonight, Rev? Come on, bro. What's good with you? And they loved me. And so like I started going out with Ramon and Byron, and so they took me to some house parties and to some clubs, and they taught me how to dance and, you know, all this stuff. And I was kind of wilding out, you know, for the first time in my life, like while during the summer at Bible college, you know, I was literally like, you know, just starting to drink, and like I was coming home and pulling up like at our Bible college. Okay. Like in order to be off campus, you had to have a signed permission slip from the dean of men. If you were off campus past 10 p.m., then you had to have permission or be working to be off campus. If you came, like when you came back on campus, you had to pass the guard shack, and the guards would be there, and you would have to pull up like a drive-through window and tell them, hey, I was here, I was doing this with this person, and I'm getting home at this time, and write it down like on a little clipboard.
That's gnarly.
And so, yeah, but like, you know, I would literally like, you know, come back and I would be drunk, you know, like pulling back up to the college, and, you know, these dudes would, you know, they knew what was up, but like, and then, you know, before I knew it, it was time to go back to college and start my junior year. And I was just like, you know what, like this, like, how am I supposed to, like, here I am, you know, I'm studying to be this like holy minister of God's word. And yet, you know, I'm out here, enjoying life, quote unquote, for the first time, getting to be me, getting to be real and do what I wanted to do. It was like the first freedom that I had ever found. Right. And so,
in a real attempt to find connections that you wanted to find, not the ones that were created for you, so to speak, kind of what I hear. Like you gravitate towards these guys. It was like, you know, we dig you. Come and chill out. This is what we get what you do. Come and hang out with what we do.
Exactly. And it was like, it was the first time in my life that I had ever just been a normal person, I guess.
Sure.
And so, for that reason, you know, I didn't go back to school. I decided to call it quits on Bible college. And,
how'd that go over with mom and dad?
Oh, they were devastated, man. I mean, you know, they didn't have any clue really.
Right.
I didn't let them have any clue, you know, and so I just called them up and told them I was coming home, and it was just like, you know, their whole world got flipped upside down. So, and moved back to Fresno. Got a room, rented a room from somebody here in town, and got a job at what was I doing? I was learning how to do cable for Linkus Communications.
It's interesting how we can have these things, because I wouldn't say I was sheltered. My mom definitely took me for a lot of experiences, but I wasn't the guy. I can only think of like 2 high school parties that I ever went to, and I drove like the drunk people home. And, you know, the girl are like, oh, Craig, you know, he wants me to sleep with him, but I'm not ready. Like, okay, Susie, I'll take you home, you know, drive you home. I'll make sure you know, whatever. Well, my parents are home. Okay, well, they're going to figure this out anyways. We'll get you home.
Right.
So, you know, for me, I think having had, I didn't see my dad ever use, but I definitely, in retrospect, was like, okay, he was high then or whatever. Or I do remember some stuff of him being hungover when I was a kid. A very hardworking man, too.
Right.
But, yeah, I just kind of steered away from that. Then it was once really I got out into the college I graduated from, and then kind of met people, and I started working in radio real quick, and then I was out and about, and was like, here's a shot, here's a beer, and then I was like, oh man, everybody likes me, I'm making new friends, here I am, because I was a shy guy that, you know, when I first went off to college was in Arizona, and I had 2 friends, both that I had made prior to even attending, you know, so it definitely changed for me. Like, oh wow, now I'm life of the party. People want me to come out. You know? Which is funny now because I've regressed. Like, oh god, I don't want anyone to invite me anywhere. Right. You know, even at the same time, I'm like, no one invites us anywhere. Wait a minute, I'm thankful no one invites us anywhere.
I know, bro. I'm with you there on that.
Are you?
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. So, I can't do. My wife will tell you, I mean, it's very rare that we go into a restaurant and eat. I don't like to be around large groups of people. I will do it at times, but it's very difficult for me. for whatever reason.
Right.
You know, I've also been diagnosed with PTSD, so I feel that maybe my PTSD has something to do with the large groups of people, stuff like that. I don't really know.
Yeah, that more developed for me. Like girlfriend and I did a concert. We went and saw Kiss. Gosh, was it into last year maybe? And I did okay with that for whatever reason, but certain settings, no, I don't like it. But where you said PTSD, what do you think, or what occurred that you ended up with that diagnosis?
Yeah. Well, I think multiple things. Through different counseling that I've gone through here in this last year, you know, I made the realization that I had a negative sexual experience at an early age. Yeah. I don't want to say that I was necessarily abused, but there was definitely a negative sexual experience for me at the age of around, 7 to 8 years old. Yeah. And so, that's something that I just realized happened within the last year. So that's one thing. Just, living the dope life for, over a decade. I mean, I got to where, I was a heroin addict. So, I was also addicted to meth, at different points. So I've been around a lot of different dope houses, a lot of different things, been in the streets at, and, I've had friends get shot in the head, and, run to the hospital to go check on them, and, just seeing a lot of different things, that honestly, like, it's just hard to even talk about.
Sure.
Some of the things.
Well, thank you for the vulnerability, though. I know it's hard. And I think, maybe tell me your opinion on this. And I think because of when I really and I can assess that I really started to drink, or that it became a frequent thing, normally about that age, about when our brain comes to maturation, that 25, 26, I kind of look at back and wonder, was I drinking for as long as I did, which lasted, I guess, about 14 years before I really started to put any work in. Was I starting to realize that these things had happened to me, and I was bearing a lot of it down? Because I think I told you, went through molestation as a kid, being exposed to pornography at a very young age, which is extremely detrimental. Thank goodness that's coming to light more and more, about how negative it is, and hopefully parents are doing more to shield their children from that. But I wonder that. Do you ever wonder that too, that maybe those things were starting to creep out? And because we don't, our brain doesn't deal with it, but then this organ, much like any other one, becomes mature, and all of a sudden things start to connect.
Yeah. I mean, I just knew that I was trying to kill the pain of something. Yeah. And, when I was in my addiction and earlier on in my 20s, like I guess some of the trauma and some of the reasons for why I was using was still so fresh that it was like, I just want to use. I just want to be high. Like, I don't want to feel normal. Yeah. And figuring out why I wanted to be inebriated so much, for so long. It took me a lot of years to even get to the point where I figured out, like, oh, I'm doing this because I hate myself. Yeah. And I hate myself for a lot of reasons, and so having to untangle that spider web of why do I hate myself, and really working through that, and why? Because I didn't do what I was quote unquote supposed to do. Sure. This is why I hate myself. I didn't live up to the standards that other people set for me. Right. And so because I didn't meet that standard that they had set, I feel like a failure, or because that person did that to me, that makes me worthless. And so these are the lies that, you know, for me, that the devil will tell me to make me, you know, start down that slippery slope of just being like, you are worthless, bro. Like, look at you.
Yeah.
Like, your parents are embarrassed of you. Like, you're not doing, you know, and at a certain point, that really was the truth. My parents were embarrassed of me.
Sure.
And that was a reality.
You worked out the reality that you were.
So I was like, okay, well, they're embarrassed of me. Well, then fuck this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out and get pills, and I'm going to get high, and I am going to feel good.
Yeah.
I just want to feel good about myself, right?
Yep.
And I couldn't feel good about myself unless I got high.
Yeah.
So I, like, my brain, like, I hadn't been able to separate the two. I was still, like, just so latched into that concept of that I was a failure because I didn't become a minister of God at that time. Well,
those stories we tell ourselves are really dangerous.
Yeah.
And I'm sure with you being of service to other people in recovery, just we hear it so many times, and you nailed it. It's like, why do I hate myself so much? And I think that's the thing that every addict has to confront, no matter what type of addiction it is. I don't care if it's a chemical one, if it's gambling, sex, whatever it is. You have to confront that. You are hating yourself when you are doing this.
Yeah.
There is something you just despise about what is inside you, or the actions thereof.
Yeah.
And ironically, much like yourself, I found I just dug myself into a hole to justify that, see, all those sayings, you are worthless, that you told yourself. You have proven it.
Yeah.
And it's the fucked up thing. We manifest it.
Yeah.
We manifest it.
Yeah.
But how did you then, what was the point for you of digging out? Like, when did you find, I've lost enough, I want a life? I guess a moment of clarity.
Yeah. I've had a couple dig outs that were kind of instrumental. My first one was in like 2009. I guess I had been doing drugs for like a solid 4 or 5 years at that point, and like my parents had they had made it to where I wasn't allowed to come to the house anymore. And that's where, like, I was an addict so bad that I couldn't hold down a job anymore. I couldn't pay rent at my place anymore. Like, I just wanted to get high. And so I started, I was stealing from my parents, breaking into the back garage, stealing $30 worth of aluminum cans. I stole my grandmother's wedding ring, which she had passed down to my mom, went and broke in, took that. And I'll never forget, I took that to the pawn shop and I got 2 Oxy 40s for it. That's what I got for that. And I'll never forget it. I've tried to go back and find that ring. Yeah. It isn't there. Yeah. But yeah, that's, so for those reasons, my parents were like, we're going to do this. You're not allowed to be here. And so for the first time in my life, in my mid 20s, I was out on the streets and I didn't have anywhere to go. Yeah. My dope dealers, they didn't even want to sell to me. So, that, like, to just let you know, like, what a piece of shit that I was at that time, as far as like where my addiction had taken me down to just having no moral compass or values. And I guess I want to correct what I just said, because I called myself a piece of shit, and I wasn't a piece of shit. I was living like I was because of my wrong ways of thinking about myself. Yeah. So I do this a lot. I say things and then I'm like, hold on, like that wasn't necessarily right. So that. I need to, because somebody that's in their addiction is never a piece of shit.
No.
And so I want to make sure that if there's somebody out there listening, just because you're struggling with using, that doesn't make you worthless. It doesn't make you a piece of shit. It makes you a normal human being. And I just hope that that person who's listening right now would start to understand the value that they have. And, like we were talking about, we all have value, right? We're here. And we have a great purpose, you know, for us to live our lives and to impact those around us, you know, whether that just be our immediate family, whether it be, you know, people that we go to school with, work with, whatever, you know, we need more positivity, you know, in the world today.
Yeah. We need a lot more positivity in this world. If you believe the news, it's we're going to hell in a handbasket for sure. That's why I can't watch it anymore. But no, and you're right. And I think there are times we do have to catch our language and correct ourselves and let people know that, you know, it's kind of like where I've heard people go, oh, that person is toxic. No, that person has toxic traits. These are traits. These are things that we can change, assuming there's not an extreme mental illness, a personality disorder that is the personality.
Yeah.
But even then, those people can do the work to kind of catch themselves. But, I mean, goodness, I can't imagine, though, in your sobriety, how many people in just sharing what you share that you've affected in a positive way and a ripple effect that you don't even know.
Yeah, it's a trip. To be in a position where I'm positively impacting and influencing the lives of those around me is really surreal. Even to be here talking with you about this in this really nice decked out podcasting room, you know, like to talk about recovery that's affiliated with pain in some way, shape, or form, which, you know, it's interesting that I actually went to pain, and we were talking about that a little earlier. That organization was one that was, you know, helping me kind of work through some of the mental health issues that I had in the very beginning. And even at that time,
when did you what was the experience for you then of actually finally getting clean? Did you return to a rehab, or was it some white knuckling, some meetings? What was it for you?
Yeah, so like the end of that story is that I got really, really bad, kind of like really, really lost myself, and my parents knew that. And I think my dad actually came out there to visit me, and he saw, you know, I was 140 pounds, super skinny, and they approached me about coming back home, you know, and they were like, hey, would you consider coming back out here and you know, giving it another try at coming home, you know, which meant getting sober, cleaning up your life, you know. And I was like, okay. I knew that I couldn't, you know, I knew that out there I was going to end up dead.
Sure.
And I had already had a coke dealer out there, like beat my head into the pavement. Like I had a bunch of traumatic stuff happen out there. And so I was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't stay out here anymore. So ended up going back home, and that's when I met my wife. And so met her in May 2014, and met her at church, and we started talking, and kind of she really liked me a lot, and I really liked her a lot.
She's off camera smiling. So, she's starting to blush over here. For those listening, his wife's in the studio.
We still got all the good feelings, don't we, babe? 8 years later, huh? Yeah. No, but we found each other, and we both really needed each other. I definitely needed her more than she needed me in the beginning, and we just talked a lot, and spent a lot of time together on the phone, falling asleep at 2-3 a.m. on the phone, and you know, we were pretty inseparable. So we met in, would you say May? We met in May, and we were engaged in August, right? Engaged by August. Okay. See, she knows everything, bro.
So got together in August, like that's official couple,
boyfriend and girlfriend,
and then got engaged
2 months later.
You're right. You do go full gusto with everything, don't you?
I do, bro.
Like, I'm all in.
Yeah, heck yeah. I knew when I met her, I was like, this is, you know, I had been engaged to 2 women previous to her, and those never worked out, luckily.
Yeah.
And I knew third time was the charm. Like, this is it. And so I didn't want to. She was looking for a real man. She was looking for the real deal.
Being serious. That's a good thing, too. I think, to state intentions. Like, look, I'm not here just to have fun. My intentions are if we're together, something, long term. Not enough people are that clear with intentions.
Yeah.
So
that was like just a real beautiful thing that happened for me, like the first good relationship I really had ever been in a long time. And she taught me a lot about, loving myself and feeling worthy of love.
Yeah. That's a tough one. And that feeling worthy.
Like she was the first like person who loved me after I was like, in my mind, like, cause there are things that I've done that I can't talk to you about. Like there's stuff that literally, that I can't even, it's hard for me to even talk to a therapist about.
Sure.
And so because of those things that I've done in my life, I have felt like such a worthless, low down piece of trash because of those actions. And, those actions that I have done in my life at certain points are low down piece of trash actions, And so I just, to find somebody that loved me, after I had done that, was just like unreal to experience, I guess, in real life. And, she, so we fell for each other. We were head over heels, got married, in February of, 2015. February 2015. I know we just celebrated 7 years this last February, so I know I'm doing good with that. 8 years coming up, but yeah, she really, she knew that I drank. And so like when we first got married and previous to us getting married, I never drank. Like I wasn't a drinker. Like in my addiction, I just wanted to do dope.
Right.
Whatever dope that was, coke, heroin, meth, oxys, whatever, Xannies, give me that. But as far as like drinking alcohol, I wasn't really with that. But after I got married, and like alcohol is the accessible drug, right? It's the drug everybody can get.
Socially acceptable.
So I found it and I was like, okay, I can do this drinking thing. Like this is actually not that bad.
Right.
Like this is actually pretty, and like when you first fall in love with alcohol, like it is like, it's such a bad deal. I fell for it hard. So we got married and I'd started to develop a real bad drinking problem. And not only that, I didn't have a job when she met me. And so she had a job working for the county. And so she had insurance. And so it was like, I got on her insurance once we got married. And then when I went to the doctors, because I do actually have legitimate pain still to this day. I still have pain.
Yeah.
I still need surgeries that I've never gotten because I don't want to have the surgeries and I don't want to be on pain medication. Yeah. So I would rather live with the pain I have than risk the pain of, a worse surgery happening or getting back on opiates again, so, but, so yeah, I went to the doctor and then, because I am that perfect patient, they were like, yeah, here's 90 morphine. Here's 91 milligram Xannies, and this should do you for a month, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be good. So now I got 3, what were they? No, they were the high dose morphines, like, 80 to 100 or 120 milligrams, like the big ones. And they were giving me those, and so like, I was crushing that up and the Xannies and snorting them, you know what I mean? That was like I said, like if I wasn't smoking stuff, I was snorting.
Right.
And that was my like fix. Like I love to snort. Yeah. And so like I was on that bad, like for the first 3 years of our marriage, I was taking and snorting pills, and then I was drinking on top of that from the time I woke up until the time I went to bed. And so getting to the end of the question that you asked a while back about how did I really dig myself out, or what was the end, after being married for 3 years and still struggling with pharmaceutical and alcohol addiction, like I was always running out of pills a week, 10 days early. And, you know, then you got to be sick for a week before they're going to give you the refill. And so I would have to call the doctor, make up some story, or I'd have to lie about this or that, or I just have to be sick and deal with it. Like one or the other. Like it was always a bad deal at the end of every month. Like there's every time. And like it just got so exhausting, that roller coaster of being good while I got them, but when I don't got them, it's a freaking disaster. Yeah. Like, and it's not just a disaster for me, it's a disaster for my wife, it's a disaster for my parents, it's a disaster for my friends. And so like just kind of getting to the point where not just that, but like you really don't want to do this anymore. Like I just remember wanting to die. Yeah. Like I do not want to do this anymore. I cannot figure this out. Like, and just being at the complete end of just not knowing really what to do. Yeah. And being at the complete end of myself. But I'm pretty sure I called on my parents came over, my wife, and if I remember correctly, I think we all had like a pretty serious powwow. And I think I had made that decision, and I just said, I'm done. Like, I don't even remember how I was able to come to the point of making that decision. I just remember the gravity of how I felt and the fact that I wanted to die. Like I really wanted to die. Sure. And that scared me, to the point where I was like, all right, I really got to figure this out. Like I got to stop. Yeah. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I got to stop. And, you know, at that point, that's when the CBD first came into the picture for me. You know, I had heard about CBD being helpful for people with pain, people with anxiety, people in my situation. And I was like, you know, let's give it a try. Let's see if, cause I had always smoked weed, but it was always like it was always just like for that extra buzz, like on top of the opiates, on top of the alcohol, like just to give it that extra little kick. You know, it was never like, I never used it really medically at that time. And so I just wanted to get high. So when I started finding, you know, out what CBD was and how it had the potential to help, I was very, interested in getting some. And so I found a local guy in the cannabis community, and he had some CBD, pure CBD isolate, like I was telling you about earlier. Right. And I was able to purchase 6 grams of CBD isolate, this white powder. And you know, I was like, oh wow, I got a big jar of some white powder. What do I do with this? You know? And so went home, kind of started watching some YouTube videos about, you know, how to infuse CBD into coconut oil. I wanted to make the CBD capsules. Sure. And so watched a few videos, kind of took some pointers off of YouTube and made my own batch, made the capsules, started taking them you know, right away. And, you know, I was amazed that like I got through day 1, got through day 2, you know, day 3, like, and I was like, oh wow. Like, and the withdrawals actually, you know, cause I cold turkey coming off of, morphine, Xanax, and alcohol, cold turkey. Oh shit. I was on those 3 every day for 3 years straight. Yeah, so like I hear
this crazy detox, and
I mean it's enough to kill you, honestly. Yeah. Like, you know, you're not supposed to really do that. And so to anybody out there that is, you know, going to come off of any pharmaceuticals, I definitely would highly recommend that you speak with your doctor before doing that. Yeah. I'm not saying that it can't be done, but I'm saying that that's what I did. But God's plan for me was for me to do that. That was his plan for me. Yeah. Not saying it's his plan that everybody be sober, for sure. He doesn't want anybody to be, you know, hooked on drugs and alcohol. But, you know, the method of getting off, you know, is definitely individual and needs to be talked about with the doctor. But that being said, the doctors don't want you off of it. So that's what makes it complicated, right? Because the doctors are the ones that they are the dealers. Yeah. Okay. To a certain extent. And so, you know, they're, you know, so we have these drugs that are, you know, being pushed onto the community as a whole. And I'm not saying that every doctor is a drug dealer, but I'm saying that there are doctors out there that they are incentivized by pharmaceuticals, and they get big bonuses from these pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah, watch the Hulu show Dope Sick.
Exactly, bro.
Good illustration.
Like we're starting to know now what these dudes were doing, you know, back in the late 90s, early 2000s when this Oxy came out, and it is sickening.
Yeah.
Like it is really sickening. Like I haven't actually watched the Dope Sick one, but there was another one that came out like a year or two, Crime of the Century. Yeah. I watched that one 2-part. Like I was pissed, bro.
I'm
sure. When I saw what, like, it was infuriating. Like, and but yeah, they made it very accessible to me, and I chose to cold turkey come off of all that stuff with CBD. For me, I was able to do it, and the CBD really helped kind of calm the withdrawals down, and just make it something that was, you know, doable.
Yeah.
And
yeah, well, and that's one of the reasons I really wanted to talk to you is that, and as you did, and thank you, owning this is my process, but it's an interesting one, because I know for me, you know, alcohol was a cold turkey thing. People, you might need to taper down. It's like, there is no taper down for me. You know, I would literally need someone to sit there and go, okay, tonight it's only 9 beers. Tomorrow it's only a 6-pack. Yeah. And then we're going to go to 3. Then you know, there was no taper down. I was an all or nothing. So I had to be an all or nothing.
Yeah.
You know, but it's fascinating for you, not only the way that you approach it with the CBD, but not just to help lessen the withdrawal symptoms, but you were dealing with a lot of physical stuff. Like you said, you had incurred some physical injuries through your substance use that now you've rolled into, you know, Green Thumb Naturals. It's pretty fascinating how then this took you to helping other people that seek the help that you offer.
Yeah.
So how did you get it really, when did it start going like, wow, this works for me. I'm pretty passionate about this. I think, you know, this is what I want to do to be of service to others.
Yeah. So what happened, how that happened was, I was working a job at that time. I was part-time washing dishes at this restaurant up the street from my house. And, the guys that I worked with, they, after the boss would leave, they would drink and they would do lines of Coke and stuff like that in the back, you know, and, they would offer it to me, you know, and I was the dishwasher. So, and I would be like, hey bro, like, I don't want that. Like, do you mind not asking me if I want any? You know, I'm trying to actually be sober right now. You know, do you guys mind not, if you are going to do that, do you mind like going to the bathroom like a normal cokehead and go do your line in the bathroom?
Right.
Like, why do we have to do that right here by where we do the meat at?
Yeah.
You know, like, and so like they didn't respect that, and they kept either doing it in front of me or asking me if I wanted any. And it was to the point where like I was just getting clean, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to get clean here. Like, I'm not going, like, I know I can say no now, but like there's going to come a day where I'm not going to have the strength to say no to that, and I'm going to do it if I stay here. So I knew at that point, like, I had to quit that job, and I walked out the back door and told them I quit, and I told them they all knew that I was trying to start a company. You know, I wasn't sure at that time what it was going to be, whether it was going to be cannabis or CBD, or I just had no clue. And, but I told them, I said, I'm going to start, you know, a company that helps people with products that help. And, they all laughed at me. And then I quit the job and, walked out, started making these products at home. It worked for me. And I would say within like even a couple weeks or a month of me being sober, like I was already trying to, few months. Okay. See, I don't remember everything. That's why I have to confirm, you know. I'm glad I did. So a few months after being sober, I started an Instagram. At first it was 559 Green Thumb K, because I didn't even have a name for the business. I was just a dude that made CBD, and I wanted to try and help people. And eventually that Instagram got deleted. Whether it was Instagram or the haters, I don't know. I still don't know. But somebody reported my page and it got deleted. So at that point, I kind of birthed the idea in my mind of Green Thumb Naturals. And started the Instagram. and I had, like I said, just that one product, the CBD capsules, and I bought little bottles off Amazon, and my wife would help me design this little label that we would go to Kinko's and print with this, little tiny Avery label, that we would put on the bottles. And, we had a few clients, and I actually got a smoke shop in Tulare called Tulare's Finest Smoke Shop. They are the first account to ever carry Green Thumb Naturals. And so shout out Moises over there, and super good guy. And it's just one by one, the people just kept coming, sure. that wanted help with CBD. And, a lot of these, when I first got into it, CBD was very, very expensive. We're talking over $100 for a product. And I couldn't even afford to buy my own CBD. That's why I had to buy it in bulk and make my own little products. And then, I could only afford to take my CBD if I sold it.
Right.
That was how I could afford to take it. And so it was super expensive. There wasn't much CBD out there. And my mission was to create quality products that worked and offer them at a fair price. We just, it kept helping more people with different things than even what it was helping me with.
Sure. Cause I asked you, cause I about the, anything THC free or whatever it is. And, I think people have that misconception about it, I'm going to get high or whatever. Yeah. But no, maybe seeing it here, I'm cracking my neck and my shoulders.
Yep.
But, you were telling me about the bombs and kindly brought me some, and, it's I want to try this because I don't want to use pills and Tylenol. And, I refuse to have muscle relaxers or anything else, but it gets that bad. So it's, people's misconception is that it's going to get me high. No, it's so many different utilizations that it can for, internal and external medical issues. Because I've heard people have taken it for gut inflammation and all kinds of things.
Yeah. There's just a plethora of different reasons that, different folks have taken CBD and are, see relief and results.
Sure.
But yeah, as far as our products, everything is going to be derived from hemp. And so hemp is a variety of cannabis, but it's the variety that is very high in CBD and very low in THC.
Right.
And so, by the time, we get the extract and by the time we infuse the products, we do have those THC free products available made with CBD isolate for people so that, they can have that confidence that they're taking a product that has non-detectable levels of THC.
Sure.
And so, for especially we obviously don't recommend this, and we don't suggest it, but we do have clients that use our products with children. That's totally up to the parent.
Well, I've heard that for kids that have seizures.
Yeah,
they've used CBD for that.
Correct.
Again, we're not giving a recommendation. We're just sharing from our experience. But yeah,
and so it's really wild. What we have clients who use it with their kids. We have a brand Hempy Paws, so we have people that use it for their dogs and cats, and then we have the whole blue collar, middle-aged, working class,
Sure.
that has aches and pains, and like they don't want to be on pills. They want to use something that's going to take care of the inflammation with the aches, and they want to be able to wake up the next morning and go. And so our products provide that for a lot of people. And I'm not saying that it does that for every person every time. And since we're on the subject, CBD has the potential to help everybody. That doesn't mean that it's right for everybody in every situation. And so, there's a lot of companies out here that are just all they want to do is sell CBD.
Sure.
And that's their, they've got, they've got numbers to achieve here. They've got investors that are, they're waiting for their checks, and so luckily, we don't have any investors at this point. I shouldn't say luckily. We need some investors, hopefully at some point. But fact of the matter is, at this point in time, we don't have any investors. We still own the business 100%. So I don't have anybody, knocking on my door asking me how much I sold this month, asking me, whatever. Like, and at the end of the day, like the sales that are supposed to come in, they come in. And, you know, at the end of the day, like if I want to do sales, as long as I keep in mind that what we're doing is helping people, as long as we continue to help people, the sales will come, and that's just going to be secondary to helping people. And so trying to really lead with that mentality on a daily basis and really like work that mission into, you know, the values of what my wife and I do with the business is super important to me. And we you know, we wouldn't be here without the community and just like the way that people have got behind what we do, and just like been like, you know what, I'm gonna support this guy and his wife, you know, we're gonna share it with our family and friends. And it's just been really cool to be on this journey at this point, you know.
Yeah. Right on, man. If people want to find out more about Green Thumb Naturals, how do they do so?
Yeah, so we're most live on Instagram. Sure. Green Thumb Naturals, one word, and they can find us there. Our pet brand is Hempie Paws, and that's HEMPIEPAWS. And so you could find us on either of those pages. We do have a website, greenthumbnaturals.com. And my email is my first name, Kalan, Kalan, at greenthumbnaturals.com. Anybody that has any questions at all about, you know, CBD, how, you know, a product might impact them, or if they have questions about recovery, have questions about my story, if they have struggles in their life and they just want to chat, we're always here to listen and you know, develop relationships.
Absolutely.
And so,
well, in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you to leave us with some final thoughts, maybe just from your life experience. But first, random questions. Are you ready?
Yeah,
okay, these are fun. I mean, you're a pretty mellow guy, but you have to have some pet peeves, just things that irk you.
Yep.
People can't hear it, but your wife was giggling about this.
Irk is going to be a slammed door.
Okay.
People who slam doors.
Yeah.
That irks me.
If you could have dinner with any one person, living or not, who would it be?
Great question, man. You know, just off the top of my head, I would want to have dinner with a musician named Jelly Roll.
Oh, yeah.
You know Jelly Roll?
I did. I've tried to get him on here.
Dude, he's the man, bro.
Yeah. No, I like Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
Especially this last album really caught me more.
Oh, he's been killing it. Stuff. Yeah, we're hearing dude on the radio now, you know what I mean? Like on the local radio stations. And it's like I found his music when I was out in Omaha, Nebraska, and you know, he's an artist who really tells stories about his own life and about his own, you know, the hard knocks that he's taken. And so like his song After the Rain, his song Dream While I'm Awake, those are two of my favorites. And also Talk to God. But you know, he's just like, me and him have bonded on so many levels. You know, I've never even met the guy, but like with his music has had such a like place in helping me through the dark times, like, and giving, like, he was a voice of that it was going to get better and that it was going to be okay. Like, even when I didn't even believe it myself.
Sure.
And, so like, he's just a super cool dude, bro. Like, and, to see how his music has evolved and how he's just stuck with his, like, he just keeps on, man. Yeah. And like, you know, I know he's had a hard life and he's been through a lot too. So, just to see him in this success that he's in his life right now, is super cool. And, like, I've hit him up on every way that possible to try. And I've even sang some of his songs. Like, he has the song, I'm sure you've heard it, Son of a Sinner.
Yeah.
That's the one, bro. Yeah. Like, I love that song. So you know, Jelly, if you're listening, brother, I got a big package for you from Green Thumb Naturals, man, and some Hempie Paws for your dogs at home. Please let me know, brother. Love to send that to you. And if we can get dinner in, bro, I got the bill, brother. Let me know.
Yeah, you never know. Life has a weird way when you put stuff out in the universe of working out.
Manifest, baby. Let's go.
Hey, thanks. This has been a blast. For anyone that's out there, you know, not necessarily just struggling from addiction, maybe it's their family members or just some of these mental health struggles, what kind of advice and knowledge might you want to drop?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, it's important that everybody knows that anyone can change. There isn't a person on this planet who cannot get clean and sober. And so we have a purpose that God put us here to do, and finding out, what that is for the individual. And once you find your purpose, and that's why I feel like a lot of people are lost, because they don't know what their purpose is. They're like, why am I here?
Absolutely.
To work at Jack in the Box? To pack up gutters to get on a Home Depot truck and get shipped down Highway 99? That's what I'm here to do.
Yeah.
But like, there's so much more purpose than just these jobs that we have. And, and so like leading and guiding people into realizing there's a bigger purpose for their lives than just what they can see.
Yeah.
And, helping people just have that thought and then start to like go down that road is, I feel like, a good thing, for a lot of people.
Yeah. Kalan, thanks, man.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much, Jason, for having me.
This is the Knockin Doorz Down podcast, featuring celebrities, experts, and everyday people who have overcome adversities, including addiction, mental health, and trauma, to live purposeful lives. And that's what Knockin Doorz Down is all about.
This podcast contains the views and opinions of the Knockin Doorz Down hosts and their guests to the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for informational purposes only. And because each person is sharing their unique perspective, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. Views and opinions expressed in the podcast and website are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. Privacy is of the utmost importance to us. For those wishing anonymity, people, places, and scenarios mentioned in the podcast have been changed to protect confidentiality at the request of certain guests. This website or podcast should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever, including but not limited to establishing standard of care in a legal sense or as a basis for expert witness testimony. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast or website. In no way does listening, reading, emailing, or interacting on social media with our content establish a doctor-patient relationship. If you find any errors in any of the content of this podcast or blogs, please send a message through the contact page. This podcast is owned by KDD Media Company.